I was sitting at my desk staring at a number that made absolutely no sense. My credit score had dropped 150 points overnight. It was a glitch. It had to be a glitch. I refreshed the page. I logged out and logged back in. The number remained the same, mocking me in bold red font. I am a person who prides myself on financial hygiene. I pay my credit cards in full every month. I have never missed a utility payment. I drive a 5-year-old sedan because I refuse to pay interest on a depreciating asset. This score was not just a number to me. It was a reflection of my discipline. I navigated to the inquiry section of the report. There it was. A hard inquiry from a lender I had never used, followed by a new account opening 2 months ago. A personal loan for $25,000. The current status was listed as 30 days past due. My stomach did not just drop. It vanished. Someone had used my social security number, my date of birth, and my maiden name to secure a loan, maxed it out immediately, and then decided that paying it back was optional. I called the bank immediately. The automated system was a nightmare of menus and voice prompts, but my rage kept me focused. When I finally got a human on the line, I was trembling. I explained that I did not take out this loan. I told them this was identity theft. The representative, a tired-sounding man named David, clicked away on his keyboard. He asked me to verify the email address on file. I gave him my email. He told me that did not match. He asked for the phone number. I gave him mine. He told me that did not match either. I asked him to read me the last 4 digits of the phone number on file. He hesitated, citing security protocol. I told him that since the loan was in my name and affecting my credit, I had a right to know what information was being used to defraud me. He sighed and gave me the last 4 digits. 7,824. The world stopped spinning. I knew those digits. I knew them because I had dialed them thousands of times over the last 10 years. They belonged to my younger sister, Vanessa. I hung up the phone without finishing the fraud report. I needed to think. If I filed a police report right then, Vanessa would have a criminal record. My parents would never forgive me. They would say I was ruining the family over money. They would say she made a mistake. They would say I was the older brother and I should protect her. I sat in my silent apartment and felt the betrayal wash over me, replaced quickly by a cold, sharp anger. Vanessa did not just steal money. She stole my name. She stole my reputation. And she did it assuming I would never find out, or that if I did, I would be too soft to do anything about it. She was wrong. I decided not to confront her immediately. Confrontation would give her a chance to lie. It would give her a chance to come up with a sob story and get mom and dad on her side before I could present the facts. I needed this to be undeniable. I needed witnesses. I needed the kind of exposure that leaves no room for gaslighting. I logged back into the credit monitoring site and dug deeper. The loan was taken out 3 months ago. That timeline was significant. 3 months ago, Vanessa had suddenly launched her luxury event planning business. She had posted photos on Instagram of a new MacBook Pro, a designer office chair, and a weekend trip to Tulum to scout locations. My parents had gushed over her initiative in the family group chat. They told me I should be more supportive when I asked how she was funding all of this without a steady income. They said she was an entrepreneur. I realized then that I had funded her startup. I paid for the laptop. I paid for the Tulum trip. I paid for the champagne she was toasting with in her stories. The plan formed in my mind slowly. It required patience. It required me to interact with her and not scream in her face. I verified the loan details again. The first payment had been made, likely to avoid immediate suspicion, but the second had been missed. The bank would be aggressive soon. Collection calls would start. Since she put her phone number on the account, she would be the one receiving them. However, since the loan was in my name, they would eventually track me down. I called the bank back the next day. I navigated the menus until I got to the collections department. I told them I was the account holder. I verified my social security number and date of birth. When they asked about the missed payment, I played the role of the disorganized borrower. I apologized profusely. I told them I had been traveling and lost track of the dates. I told them I wanted to make it right. Then I dropped the bait. I told the agent that I was very busy during the day, but I wanted to set up a specific time for a compliance call to restructure the payment plan. I told them my assistant handled my calendar and they should call the number on file, Vanessa's number, specifically on Sunday at 6 p.m. I emphasized that it was crucial they call at that exact time because we would be in a meeting to discuss finances. The agent noted it down. Sunday at 6 p.m. was our monthly family Zoom call. My parents lived in Florida, I was in Chicago, and Vanessa was in New York. We did this call the first Sunday of every month to catch up. It was a tradition my mother insisted on. Vanessa usually spent the call talking about her fabulous life and her high-end clients. My parents usually spent the call nodding and smiling, occasionally asking me why I was still single or when I would get a promotion. The days leading up to Sunday were excruciating. I watched Vanessa's social media like a hawk. She bought a new purse on Thursday. A Balenciaga bag that cost at least $2,000. She posted a video unboxing it, captioning it "Boss Babe Treats." I saved the video to my hard drive. I downloaded her entire feed from the last 3 months. I created a spreadsheet cross-referencing her major purchases with the loan disbursement date. The math was perfect. The $25,000 hit the account, and within 48 hours, she had spent $5,000 on electronics and travel. I visited my parents' house digitally on Saturday to test my connection. I wanted to make sure everything was technically flawless. I checked my lighting. I checked my microphone. I prepared a folder on my desktop named Receipts. Sunday arrived. I joined the Zoom call at 5:55 p.m. My mother and father were already on, peering into the webcam with that confused look older people get when technology is involved. "Hi Alex," my mom said. "You look tired. Are you eating enough?" "I am fine, Mom," I said. "Just working hard." "You work too hard," my dad grunted. "Be more like your sister. She makes her own hours." Vanessa joined the call at 5:58 p.m. She was wearing a silk robe and had a glass of wine in her hand. She looked radiant, the picture of success. "Hey fam," she said, waving. "Sorry I am late. My phone has been blowing up all day. Clients, you know." "We were just saying how proud we are of you," Mom said. "Alex, did you see Vanessa's new bag?" "I did," I said. My voice was calm. "It looks expensive." "Invest in yourself, that is my motto," Vanessa said, taking a sip of wine. "So," I said, checking the clock on my computer. It was 5:59 p.m. Before we get into updates, I actually wanted to talk about finances. I have been thinking about investing in Vanessa's business. Vanessa's eyes lit up. "Really? Alex, that would be amazing. I have so many ideas for expansion." "That is great," I said. "But before I write a check, I wanted to go over the numbers. Vanessa, why don't you share your screen? Show us your business accounts. Let's see the cash flow." Vanessa hesitated. "Now? I mean, nothing is prepared. It is a Sunday." "It does not have to be formal," I pressed. "Just log into your business banking portal. I want to see the operating capital." "Oh, do it, Vanessa," Dad said. "Show your brother what you have built." She couldn't say no without looking suspicious. She was trapped by her own ego. "Fine," she said. "Let me just pull it up on my phone and cast it. My laptop is updating." She connected her phone to the Zoom meeting. Her screen appeared on our monitors. We saw her background, a photo of herself, and her apps. She navigated to her banking app. As she was typing in her passcode, I watched the clock. 6 p.m. The call notification took over her entire screen. It was not a saved contact. It was a 1-800 number. The caller ID simply said, U.S. Lending Services. Vanessa panicked. She tried to swipe the call away, but in her haste, she hit the green answer button instead of the red decline button. The audio from her phone was being fed directly into the Zoom meeting. "Hello?" A stern female voice came through the speakers. "This is a call for Alex Mercer regarding a past due balance of $25,000. Is this the authorized contact?" The silence on the Zoom call was absolute. My parents looked confused. Vanessa looked like she had been shot. She scrambled to mute her phone, but her hands were shaking too much. "Who is this?" Vanessa squeaked. "I am looking for the account holder," the agent said. We have a missed payment on the personal loan ending in 4490. The account is in default. We were told to call this number at this time. Hang on, I said clearly into my microphone. I am Alex Mercer. That is my name. The agent paused. Sir, are you on the line? I am, I said. But the phone you called belongs to my sister, Vanessa, the woman who is currently sharing her screen. Vanessa finally managed to end the call, but the damage was done. The notification of the missed call was still sitting there on her shared screen, along with a text message preview from the same number that read, "Please contact us regarding your debt." Vanessa, my dad said, his voice low. Why is a collection agency calling you looking for Alex? She disconnected her screen share instantly. Her face was pale. It is a mistake, she stammered. Spam call. You know how they are. They just buy lists of data. They had my name, I said. And they had the specific loan amount. $25,000. I don't know what you are talking about, Vanessa said, her eyes darting around. Alex, stop being weird. I pulled my credit report, Vanessa, I said. I shared my screen now. I pulled up the PDF I had prepared. It showed the loan origination, the date, and the lender. Then I pulled up the second document, the IP address log from the loan application which the bank's fraud department had verbally confirmed to me was local to her apartment complex in Brooklyn, and the transfer destination account. The money was deposited into an account ending in 8821, I said. Vanessa, pull your banking app back up. Let's see if your account number ends in 8821. Stop it, she screamed. You are ruining family night. You ruined my credit score, I said. You stole my identity. You took $25,000 in my name to fund a lifestyle you cannot afford. My mother found her voice. Vanessa? Is this true? Vanessa burst into tears. It was a performance I had seen 1,000 times. The victimhood. The trembling lip. I was going to pay it back, she sobbed. I just needed a bridge loan. The business is taking off, I promise. I just needed capital, and my credit was bad because of student loans. I knew Alex wouldn't mind helping me, but he is always so judgmental about money, so I just borrowed it. I was going to pay it off next month. You missed a payment, I said. You bought a Balenciaga bag on Thursday. You went to Tulum. You have not paid a dime toward the principal. I had to maintain appearances, she yelled. You don't understand marketing. I have to look successful to get clients. So you committed a felony? I asked. Do not use that word, my mother snapped. She looked at me, not Vanessa. Alex, stop attacking your sister. We can work this out. There is no we here, I said. There is a debt in my name that she spent. I am not paying it. She said she would pay it back, Dad said, sounding tired. Alex, how much is it? 25. Yes, I said. Plus interest. We will handle it, Mom said quickly. We will pay it off. Just, do not bring anyone else into this. No lawyers. No police. I already spoke to the fraud department, I lied. I hadn't filed the official affidavit yet, but they needed to think I had. The investigation is already open. If I retract it now, I have to assume the debt. I have to say I authorized it. If I do that, I am liable for the taxes and the interest. We will give you the money, Dad said. Just fix it. I looked at them. They were still protecting her. Even with the evidence right in front of them, even after hearing the collection agent, their first instinct was to shield Vanessa and throw money at the problem. But this time, it was their money, not mine. Fine, I said. Here are the terms. You wire $26,000 to my account by tomorrow morning. I will pay off the loan in full and close the account. If the money is not there by 9 a.m., I file the police report for identity theft. I am not negotiating. Alex, you are being so harsh, Mom cried. She is your sister. She is a thief, I said. And she is only crying because she got caught. Look at her. Vanessa wasn't looking at the camera. She was looking at her phone, probably checking if she could return the bag. Tomorrow. 9 a.m., I repeated. And Vanessa? If you ever use my name, my birth date, or my information for anything ever again, even a subscription to Netflix. I will not call mom and dad. I will call the district attorney. I ended the call. I did not wait for their goodbyes. I sat in my apartment and listened to the silence. My heart was pounding, but my hands were steady. I felt a strange sense of cleanliness. The secret was out. The dynamic had shifted. The next morning, at 8:45 a.m., a transfer hit my checking account for $26,000. It came from my parents' retirement savings account. I saw the bank name on the transfer details. It made me feel a pang of guilt, but then I remembered the Tulum photos. I remembered the Boss Babe caption. I remembered that she was willing to let my financial future burn so she could play pretend. I paid off the loan immediately. I called the bank and closed the account. I placed a freeze on my credit with all 3 bureaus. I signed up for a service that alerts me if anyone tries to use my social security number. I did not speak to my parents for a month. When we finally spoke, the conversation was stiff. They told me I had humiliated Vanessa. They told me she was depressed and had to move into a smaller apartment. They acted as if I was the villain for exposing the crime, rather than the victim of it. But the dynamic had changed permanently. Vanessa knew I was dangerous. She knew I watched. And she knew that her tears did not work on me anymore. 3 months later, I got an email from a credit card company. "Thank you for your application," the subject line read. I logged in immediately. It was an application for a platinum card in my name. I didn't call my parents. I didn't call Vanessa. I simply forwarded the email to the family group chat with a single sentence attached. "Processing the police report now." The phone rang 30 seconds later. It was Vanessa. "It was a mistake," she screamed. "Autofill. It was autofill on the browser. I was applying for myself and it put your info in. Please don't. You have 5 minutes to send me proof that you withdrew the application," I said. "And proof that you cleared your browser cache." She sent the screenshots in 2 minutes. I realized then that this would never truly be over. I would always have to watch my back. I would always have to be the warden of my own identity. But as I looked at her frantic texts pleading for mercy, I realized something else. I wasn't afraid of her anymore. And I wasn't afraid of losing my parents' approval. I had drawn a line in the sand, and for the first time in our lives, they were forced to stand on the other side of it with her, seeing her for exactly what she was. I didn't reply to her texts. I simply left the group chat. I haven't rejoined it since. I talk to my parents individually now. I visit them on holidays, but I stay in a hotel. I keep my wallet in the hotel safe. When Vanessa is there, we are polite. We pass the salt. We discuss the weather. But every time she pulls out her phone to show off a new purchase, she looks at me. And I look back. And she puts the phone away. She knows the bank is not the only one watching. The loan is paid, but the cost was our family. Honestly, it was a bargain. I bought my freedom for the price of a Zoom call. The silence is peaceful. My credit score is back up to 800. And last week, I bought a house. I didn't tell them. I didn't post it on social media. I just signed the papers, moved in, and locked the door. It is small, but it is mine. And the mailbox has a lock on it. I recommend everyone check their credit report today. You never know who is funding their dreams with your nightmares. It might be the person sitting across from you at the dinner table. Some people say blood is thicker than water. I say peace of mind is the most expensive luxury of all, and unlike my sister, I prefer to pay for mine with my own money. I grabbed a beer from the fridge and sat on my new porch. My phone buzzed. A notification from my credit monitoring app. Your credit score has increased. I smiled. Life is good. But I still check the logs every single morning. Because forgiveness is a virtue, but vigilance is a necessity. And I am never going back to being the brother who pays the bill. If you are reading this, Vanessa, I know you browse this subreddit looking for drama. This is not drama. This is a receipt. And I kept a copy. I have never felt so physically ill in my entire life. My hands are shaking as I type this, but I need to get it out of my system before I lose my mind entirely. Everything I thought I knew about my partner, my future, and my reality has been dismantled in the span of 48 hours. I am sitting in an empty apartment that feels like a mausoleum to a relationship that never actually existed. 3 years. I gave 3 years of my life to a woman I thought was my soulmate. We were the perfect team. We were the envy of our friends. We were the couple that had it all figured out. But the cornerstone of our relationship, the absolute bedrock upon which we built our life, was our mutual unwavering decision to never have children. It was the first thing we bonded over on our first date. I remember it vividly. We were at a tapas bar downtown, shouting over the music. She looked me dead in the eye and told me she valued her freedom, her sleep, and her career too much to ever become a mother. She said the very idea of pregnancy and raising a child made her skin crawl. I felt like I had won the lottery. I felt the exact same way. Fast forward to 3 days ago. Maya and I were living what I considered the dream. We had a sleek apartment in the city center. We had disposable income. We traveled spontaneously. Maya worked as a high-level regional consultant for a logistics firm, which meant she traveled often, usually Monday through Thursday. I worked in tech with a flexible schedule. Our weekends were sacred. Friday night through Monday morning, we were inseparable. We slept in until noon. We went to expensive brunches. We drank wine on the balcony until 3 a.m. talking about art and politics. It was a selfish, beautiful existence. The cracks started to show on Tuesday. Maya was supposed to be in Chicago for a client site visit. She had texted me that morning complaining about the flight delay and the freezing weather. I was at home, working on a coding project, when my doorbell rang. It was a courier. He was holding a large, heavy box addressed to Maya. This wasn't unusual. She ordered clothes and gadgets all the time. But when I signed for it, the label caught my eye. It wasn't from a retailer. It was from a custom photo book printing service. I assumed it was a gift for me, maybe a compilation of our recent trip to Italy. My curiosity got the better of me. I know I should not have opened her mail, but we didn't have secrets. Or so I thought. I grabbed a kitchen knife and slit the tape. I pulled out a heavy leather-bound album. The cover was embossed with gold lettering, The Miller Family, Summer 2023. I froze. My last name is not Miller. Maya's last name is not Miller. I opened the book. The first page was a high-resolution professional portrait of Maya. But she wasn't wearing her usual sharp blazers or designer heels. She was wearing a soft floral sundress I had never seen. She was standing on a beach. Next to her was a man I did not recognize. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a polo shirt. And standing in front of them, holding their hands, were 2 children. A boy who looked about 7 and a girl who couldn't have been more than 4. I stared at the photo. My brain refused to process the visual data. It simply rejected it. I thought it was a prank. I thought the printing company had sent the wrong order. I flipped the page. There was Maya again. She was holding the little girl on her hip at a birthday party. There was a cake with 4 candles. Maya looked tired but happy. She looked like a mother. I flipped another page. Maya and the man at a baseball game. Maya and the boy building a Lego set. Maya and the family at Disney World. I looked at the dates stamped in the corner of the Disney photos. May 14th through May 18th. I pulled out my phone and scrolled back through our text history. May 14th through May 18th. On those dates, Maya had told me she was at a supply chain conference in Denver. I had texts from her complaining about the boring seminars. I had a photo she sent me of a generic hotel room view. I realized now that the photo could have been taken anywhere, at any time. I felt the bile rise in my throat. This wasn't a past life. These photos were recent. Summer 2023. That was 2 months ago. I sat on the floor of our kitchen with the photo album on my lap for an hour. I didn't move. I didn't cry. I just analyzed every single image, looking for signs of Photoshop, looking for any explanation other than the obvious one. There was none. The woman in these photos was my girlfriend. The scar on her left elbow was visible in one of the beach shots. It was her. I needed to know where this was. The return address on the box was the printing company, but the invoice was tucked inside the front cover. It listed a billing address. The name on the billing address was Maya Miller. The address was in a suburb about 45 minutes from our apartment. A quiet, family-oriented suburb with good schools and big yards. I looked at the clock. It was 2 p.m. Maya was supposed to be in Chicago. I got in my car. I didn't even put on shoes. I drove in my house slippers. The drive was a blur of highway merging and red lights. I kept expecting to wake up. I kept expecting to arrive at the address and find an empty lot or a stranger who had stolen her identity. I pulled into the subdivision. It was aggressively normal. Manicured lawns, basketball hoops in driveways, SUVs parked on the street. I found the house number. It was a nice two-story beige house with a porch swing. And there, in the driveway, was Maya's car. Not the Audi she drove when she was with me. A Honda Odyssey minivan. I knew it was hers because I recognized the parking permit sticker on the windshield, the one from her office building downtown. I parked my car 3 houses down and waited. I didn't know what I was waiting for. I think a part of me still wanted to believe she was just visiting relatives. Maybe it was her sister's house? But she said she was an only child. Maybe a cousin? At 3:30 p.m., the front door opened. Maya walked out. She was wearing leggings and an oversized t-shirt that said Soccer Mom. She looked exhausted. She wasn't wearing makeup. She walked to the minivan, got in, and drove off. I followed her. I kept a safe distance, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. She drove 2 miles to an elementary school. I watched from across the street as she joined a line of parents waiting for dismissal. 10 minutes later, the bell rang. Kids poured out. I saw the boy from the photo album run up to her. She hugged him. She took his backpack. She smoothed his hair. It was a gesture of such casual, practiced intimacy that it shattered whatever hope I had left. She buckled him into the car and they drove off. I followed them to a daycare center. She picked up the little girl. Then they went to a grocery store. I sat in the parking lot and watched my sophisticated, child-free, career-driven girlfriend load bags of diapers and frozen chicken nuggets into the back of a minivan. I couldn't confront her there. Not in front of the kids. I drove back to the house and waited. I waited until she got home, unloaded the groceries, and went inside. I waited until another car pulled into the driveway around 6 p.m. The man from the photos got out. He looked tired. He was wearing scrubs. He walked into the house, and through the front window, I saw Maya greet him with a quick peck on the cheek. It was a domestic scene so ordinary it was boring. And that was the horror of it. She wasn't leading a double life of espionage or high-stakes crime. She was leading a double life of mediocrity. I drove home. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on our couch and drank half a bottle of whiskey. Maya texted me around 9 p.m. "Hey babe, just got back to the hotel. Exhausted. Presentation went well, but the client is a nightmare. Going to crash early. Miss you. Love you." I stared at the text. The audacity was breathtaking. She was likely sitting on that beige couch next to her husband, watching Netflix, while texting me about a fake hotel in Chicago. I didn't reply. The next morning, Wednesday, she was supposed to fly back in the evening. That was our routine. She would come home Wednesday or Thursday night, and we would resume our life. I spent the day digging. Now that I knew the name Maya Miller, the internet provided the rest. I found their wedding registry from 7 years ago. I found her Facebook profile, which was under a slightly different variation of her name and locked down tight, blocked from me, obviously. I found the husband's profile. His name is David. He's a nurse. His profile was public. It was a shrine to his wife and kids. "So proud of my wife for working so hard for our family," one caption read on a photo of Maya with a suitcase. "She's the backbone of this house." It made me sick. I realized I wasn't just the other man. I was the escape hatch. When she unlocked the door to our apartment that evening, I was sitting in the armchair facing the entrance. The photo album was on the coffee table. She walked in, dragging her carry-on bag, looking impeccable in her business suit. "Hey, I am so glad to be home." She stopped. She saw my face. Then she looked down and saw the album. The color drained from her face so fast I thought she was going to faint. She didn't say a word. She dropped her bag and the handle clattered against the floor. The silence stretched for an eternity. "Chicago?" I asked. My voice sounded dead. She closed her eyes. She didn't try to lie. She knew it was over. The evidence was right there in gold embossing. "Please," she whispered. Who are they? I asked. My family, she said. Her voice was trembling. You have a husband, I stated. Yes. You have 2 children. Yes. And you told me, I stood up, my anger finally starting to boil over, that you hated children. You told me you were single. You told me you wanted this life. I do want this life, she shouted, taking a step forward. I love this life. I love us. You are delusional, I said. You are living in a house 45 minutes away with a husband and 2 kids. How? How do you even manage this? The logistics alone are insane. She slumped onto the sofa, avoiding the photo album. She put her head in her hands. And then, she started to talk. She talked for 20 minutes without stopping. She told me she married David Young. She had kids because it was what was expected of her. She loved her children, she insisted, but she hated being a mother. She hated the drudgery. She hated the noise. She hated the loss of identity. She felt like she was drowning in that suburban house. So she created a solution. Her job actually did require some travel, but nowhere near what she told David or me. She leveraged her position to manipulate her schedule. She told David she had been promoted to a role that required weekly travel to regional offices. He supported it because it came with a raise, money she was actually siphoning from our shared expenses and her own secret credit cards. I needed a place to be me, she said, looking up at me with tear-filled eyes. Not mom. Not wife. Just Maya. When I met you, it was like breathing fresh air for the first time in years. You didn't want anything from me other than my company. You didn't need me to wipe your nose or make your lunch. You treated me like a woman, not a servant. So I'm a vacation, I said cold. I'm an Airbnb you booked to escape your real life. No, she shook her head frantically. You are my real life. That out there is the obligation. This is the happiness. I love you. I am happy here. I am miserable there. You are a sociopath, I said. You look your husband in the face and lie to him every single week. You kiss your children goodbye and come here to drink wine and sleep in while he raises them. He thinks I'm working, she pleaded. He thinks I'm sacrificing for the family. It makes him feel good to support my career. It works, don't you see? It keeps the marriage together. If I didn't have this outlet, I would have divorced him years ago. I would have broken up the family. This way, the kids have both parents, David has a wife, and I get to stay sane. Her twisted logic was terrifying. She actually believed she was doing a noble thing. She had compartmentalized her life so severely that she truly believed she could be 2 different people without consequence. It's over, I said. Get out. Don't do this, she begged. She reached for my hand. We can figure this out. I can leave him. If you want me to, I'll leave him. I'll get a divorce. We can be together for real. I don't want you, I said. The realization was sharp and painful. I don't want a woman who could do this to her own children. I don't want a liar. And I definitely don't want a woman who comes with the baggage of a destroyed family. I won't bring the kids into this, she promised. I'll give him full custody. I'll just be a weekend mom. We can keep our life. That statement chilled me to the bone. She was willing to abandon her children to keep her fantasy life with me. It proved everything I needed to know about her character. Get out, I repeated. Take your album. Take your bag. If you aren't gone in 5 minutes, I'm calling David. She froze. You wouldn't. Try me. She scrambled. She grabbed the album and her suitcase. She didn't look back. She ran out the door. I locked it behind her. I collapsed against the wood and slid down to the floor. I cried for the first time. I cried for the wasted years. I cried for the betrayal. But mostly, I cried for that poor man, David. I knew what I had to do. The next day, yesterday, I called in sick to work. I drove back to the suburb. I waited until I saw the Honda Odyssey leave the driveway with Maya behind the wheel. I waited 5 more minutes to be sure she was gone. Then I walked up to the front door and rang the bell. David answered. He was wearing a t-shirt and sweatpants. He looked like a nice guy. Tired, but nice. Can I help you? He asked, holding a cup of coffee. David, My name is Mark, I said. You don't know me, but I think we need to talk about Maya. He looked confused. Is she okay? Was there an accident? No accident, I said. May I come in? He let me in. We sat in his living room. The house smelled like pancakes and laundry detergent. There were toys scattered on the rug. It was a home. I told him everything. I didn't spare any details. I told him about the apartment. I told him about the business trips. I told him about the 3 years. He didn't believe me at first. He got angry. He told me to get out. He accused me of being a stalker. Then I pulled out my phone. I showed him the photos. 3 years of geotagged photos. Us in Paris. Us in Cabo. Us in the apartment on dates that matched her conferences. I showed him videos of her laughing in our kitchen. As he scrolled through the phone, I watched a man break. It wasn't loud. He just deflated. He slumped forward, his elbows on his knees, and buried his face in his hands. He made a sound that I will never forget, a low animal whimper of pure agony. She said she was working, he whispered into his hands. She said she was doing it for us. I know, I said softly. I didn't know you existed until Tuesday. The kids, he said, looking up at me with red eyes. She sees the kids. What? Maybe 3 days a week? And she's always tired. She's always recovering from the travel. I do everything. I do the school runs, the doctor appointments, the meals. I thought I was supporting her career. She doesn't have a career, I told him. She has a fake job title and a boyfriend in the city. We sat in silence for a long time. Why are you telling me this? He asked eventually. Because you deserve to know, I said. And because if I were you, I would want to know who is raising my children. He nodded slowly. He stood up and offered me his hand. Thank you, Mark. I think you should go now. She'll be back for lunch. I left. I haven't heard from Maya since she left my apartment. I blocked her number, her email, and her social media. I contacted my landlord to break my lease. I can't stay in this apartment. It feels tainted. Every corner of it holds a memory of a lie. I don't know what is happening in that house in the suburbs right now. I imagine it is a war zone. I imagine lawyers are being called. I imagine David is looking at his wife and seeing a stranger. I feel hollow. I feel like I was an unwitting accomplice to a crime. I stole a mother from her children. I stole a wife from her husband. Even though I didn't know, the guilt is heavy. But mostly, I am grappling with the reality of who Maya was. She wasn't just a cheater. She was an actor. She played the role of the cool, independent girlfriend perfectly. She played the role of the hard-working corporate mother perfectly. But neither of them was real. The real Maya is a woman who is so fundamentally unhappy with herself that she had to fracture her reality to survive. I am writing this as a warning. You think you know the person you sleep next to. You think you know their heart. But everyone has secrets. Some people hide a credit card bill. Some people hide a smoking habit. And some people hide an entire family, a house, and a minivan in the suburbs. I'm moving out tomorrow. I'm taking my furniture, my clothes, and my cat. I'm leaving behind the life we built. I am going to therapy on Monday. I need to figure out how I missed the signs. I need to figure out how to trust anyone ever again. But for now, I'm just going to sit here and be grateful that when she said she didn't want kids with me, she was telling the truth. Because if we had brought a child into this mess, that would have been the true tragedy. For anyone reading this who thinks their partner is too busy or travels too much for work, check the receipts. Check the mileage. And for God's sake, if a random photo album shows up at your door, open it. The truth hurts, but living a lie is fatal. I am done. I am out. And Maya, if you are reading this on some burner account while your life falls apart, you didn't just lose 2 men. You lost yourself. And that is a loss you can never recover from. TLDR, my girlfriend of 3 years claimed to be strictly child-free and career-focused. A misdirected photo album revealed she has a husband and 2 kids in a nearby suburb. She was using me to escape her mom life. I told the husband, my life is blown apart. They called me the office martyr. It was not a compliment. It was a sneer wrapped in a joke, tossed over cubicle walls and whispered near the coffee machine. To Brenda, Josh, and Emily, I was the ultimate punchline because I actually did my job. They viewed employment as a transactional scam where the goal was to extract the maximum salary for the minimum effort, and my refusal to play along made me a threat. I disrupted their curve. I made their laziness look like laziness rather than a standard industry pace. I remember the exact moment I realized this was war. It was a Tuesday at 6:15 p.m. The office lights had dimmed to that depressing energy-saving mode, leaving pools of shadow in the corners of the room. I was the only one left in the bullpen, staring at a supply chain spreadsheet that looked like a digital crime scene. The numbers did not add up. If we submitted this to the client, we would lose a six-figure contract. I had been debugging their data entry errors for 3 hours. The elevator dinged. I looked up to see the three of them, coats on, laughing about a happy hour at the bar down the street. Brenda stopped, holding the glass door open with one hip, and looked at me with pity that felt like spit. "You know they don't pay you extra for that, right?" she asked. Her voice echoed in the empty lobby. "You're making us all look bad, and for what? A pat on the head? Go home. Get a life." Josh snickered behind her. "He loves it, Brenda. He's building a relationship with his Excel formulas." They left, the heavy door clicking shut behind them. I was alone with their mistakes. I stayed until 9 p.m. that night fixing the mess they created. I did not know it then, but that specific Tuesday was the night I stopped trying to be their friend and started auditioning to be their boss. I work in logistics coordination for a mid-sized firm. It is not glamorous. It is high-stress, data-heavy, and relies entirely on precision. If you mess up a shipping manifest, a container of perishable goods sits on a dock in brave heat until it rots. It costs money. It ruins reputations. Our department manager, Marcus, was a nice man who had mentally retired 5 years ago. He sat in his office with the door closed, playing solitaire and counting the days until his pension kicked in. He avoided conflict like it was a contagious disease. This power vacuum allowed Brenda to create her own little kingdom. Brenda was the senior coordinator. She had been there for 7 years. In her mind, seniority equaled immunity. She did the bare minimum, delegated her difficult tasks to the interns, and spent half the day browsing real estate listings for houses she had no intention of buying. Josh and Emily were her courtiers. Josh was the class clown who used humor to mask the fact that he did not know how to use a pivot table. Emily was a follower who was terrified of Brenda and would do anything to stay in her good graces, including sabotaging me. My role was simple on paper but nightmare in practice. I was the junior analyst. I was supposed to support the team. In reality, I was the safety net catching them every time they fell. The bullying started subtly. It was exclusions from lunch orders. It was quiet conversations that stopped abruptly when I walked into the break room. Then it became overt. One morning, I arrived to find my desk covered in sticky notes. Hundreds of them. Every single surface was yellow. On the monitor, a large note read, "Warning, workaholic zone. Proceed with caution." I spent 20 minutes peeling them off while they giggled from the other side of the room. When I brought it up to Marcus, he sighed, rubbed his temples, and told me that it was just team building, and I needed to have a thicker skin. He told me I should try to fit in better. Fit in. That meant missing deadlines. That meant ignoring client emails after 3 p.m. That meant taking 2-hour lunches and blaming traffic. I decided right then that I would not fit in. I would stand out. The strategy was simple. I stopped fixing their mistakes silently. For the first 6 months, I had been covering for them. If Josh messed up an invoice, I corrected it before sending it to billing. If Emily forgot to schedule a pickup, I called the carrier and begged for a favor. I thought being a team player meant saving the team. I was wrong. Being a team player means doing your role effectively. Enabling incompetence is not teamwork. It is complicity. I started a log. I created a private folder on my drive. Every time I had to stay late because of someone else's error, I documented it. I saved the original incorrect file, the timestamp, the email chain, and the corrected version I produced. I did not send these to anyone. I just kept them. I called it the insurance policy. The teasing intensified as I withdrew. They interpreted my silence as submission. "Look at him," Josh said one afternoon. leaning back in his chair and throwing a stress ball against the wall. Grinding away. Hey man, are you trying to win Employee of the Month? The plaque is made of plastic, you know. It's not worth it. I just want to get the Q3 projections done, I said without looking away from my screen. You're making the rest of us look lazy, Brenda snapped. Her tone was sharp. It's annoying. You need to pace yourself. You're setting unrealistic expectations for the department. I'm just doing the job, Brenda. You're kissing up, she corrected. And it's pathetic. Marcus isn't going to promote you. He doesn't even know your last name. She was right about Marcus. But she was wrong about who was watching. Our company had a director of operations, Mr. Sterling. Sterling was a terrifying figure who worked out of the corporate headquarters, but visited our branch once a quarter. He was known for firing people who wasted his time. In November, the crisis hit. We landed the accounts for a major electronics retailer. It was a massive volume increase. We needed to integrate their inventory system with ours within 2 weeks before the Black Friday rush. It was an impossible deadline. Marcus called a team meeting. He looked pale. We need all hands on deck, he said, his voice trembling slightly. This integration has to be flawless. If we botch the holiday rollout, we lose the contract. Brenda immediately started listing reasons why it couldn't be done. We don't have the manpower. The software is incompatible. We need outside consultants. We can't be expected to work weekends. It's mandatory overtime until this is done, Marcus said, looking down at his desk. The room exploded. Brenda was furious. Josh made jokes about labor laws. Emily looked like she was going to cry. I raised my hand. I can lead the data migration, I said. I've been studying their API documentation in my spare time. Brenda laughed. A loud, barking laugh. You've been here a year. You don't even have admin access. I can get it done, I said, looking directly at Marcus. But I need the team to handle the daily logistics while I focus on the code mapping. Marcus looked at me like I was a lifeboat in the Titanic. Do it. The next 2 weeks were hell. I practically lived at the office. I was there at 7 a.m. and left at midnight. I ordered pizza for dinner 5 nights in a row. The trio, however, did not step up. They did the bare minimum to avoid getting fired. They complained constantly. They spent hours in the break room speculating about how the project would fail and how they could blame management. The mockery shifted from nerd to scab. They viewed my effort as a betrayal of their collective refusal to work hard. You're crossing the picket line of human decency, Josh told me one evening as he packed up at 5 p.m. exactly. You're enabling them to exploit us. Stop being a hero. I didn't answer. I was too busy rewriting a script that Josh was supposed to have finished 3 days ago. The Friday before the launch, disaster struck. The retailer sent a corrupted batch of SKU numbers. It effectively scrambled our entire database. Orders were matching with the wrong products. Toasters were being identified as televisions. It was 4 p.m. Brenda, Josh, and Emily were already mentally at the bar. Well, Brenda said, looking at the error logs. That's it. We're screwed. We can't fix this by Monday. I'm going to email the client and tell them their file was garbage and we need a delay. You can't do that, I said, standing up. If we delay, they miss the Black Friday window. They'll fire us. Not my problem, Brenda said, grabbing her purse. I'm not staying here all weekend to fix their mistake. Marcus can deal with it. They left. All of them. They walked out the door, leaving the database in flames. Marcus was already gone for a dental appointment. I was alone. Again. I called the client's tech support. I stayed on the phone with a guy named Dave from their IT department for 6 hours. We went line by line. I manually mapped the corrupted SKUs. I wrote a patch to clean the data. I ran the simulation. It failed. I tweaked the code. I ran it again. It was 3 a.m. on Saturday when the green checkmarks appeared. The system was stable. The integration worked. I slept under my desk for 4 hours, woke up, double-checked everything, and sent the confirmation email to Marcus and Mr. Sterling. When the team walked in on Monday, they expected a catastrophe. They were preparing their excuses. Brenda had actually drafted a long email blaming the client's incompetent data management and my inexperience for the failure. She never got to send it. Mr. Sterling was in the office. He was standing by my desk. "Good morning," Sterling boomed. The office went silent. Brenda froze. "Mr. Sterling, we weren't expecting you." "I bet," Sterling said. He didn't look at her. He looked at me. "Walk me through how you bypassed the corruption, son." The client is ecstatic. "They said you pulled a miracle." I explained the technical details. Sterling listened intently. Brenda tried to chime in twice to claim credit for overseeing the process, but Sterling cut her off with a raised hand without even looking at her. "I see," Sterling said. "And where was the rest of the team during this critical fix?" I hesitated. This was the moment. The high road or the truth? "I handled the technical side," I said diplomatically. It was a late night. Sterling looked around the room. He saw the clear desks of the others. He saw the dark circles under my eyes. He nodded. He knew. 2 months later, Marcus announced his retirement. It was immediate. He cleared out his desk and was gone by noon. The speculation began instantly. Brenda assumed the job was hers. She moved her chair to the head of the conference table during informal chats. She started talking about when I'm in charge and the changes she would make. She promised Josh and Emily better schedules. She promised less oversight. "First thing I'm doing," she said loud enough for me to hear, "is banning unauthorized overtime. If you can't get your work done in 8 hours, you're inefficient. We need to trim the fat." She was talking about firing me. The interview process was closed. HR came in and conducted interviews with internal candidates. Brenda went in for her interview wearing a power suit, carrying a binder of ideas. She was in there for an hour. She came out beaming. "Nailed it," she told Josh. "Sterling loves my vision for work-life balance." I was called in next. Mr. Sterling was sitting with the HR director. He had a file in front of him. It wasn't my resume. It was the log. "I pulled the server access logs from the integration weekend," Sterling said, skipping the pleasantries. "And I cross-referenced them with the building security swipes. You were the only person in this building from Friday night until Sunday morning." "Yes, sir." "And looking at the commit history on the project files, you did 90% of the actual work." "I like to be thorough." Sterling leaned back. "Brenda told me that you struggle with time management and that's why you stay late. She says you're overwhelmed." I took a breath. I opened my laptop bag and pulled out a flash drive. I prepared a presentation regarding department efficiency, workflow bottlenecks, and error correction rates over the last fiscal year. I think you'll find the timestamps interesting. I showed them the data. I showed them the insurance policy. I didn't frame it as a complaint. I framed it as a process improvement analysis. I showed how many man-hours were lost correcting repetitive errors. I showed the cost of delays caused by lack of ownership. I showed that my overtime wasn't inefficiency, it was the glue holding the department together. Sterling flipped through the pages. His face hardened. "Thank you," he said. "That will be all." The announcement came on a Friday, 3 weeks later. The email went out to the entire branch at 9 a.m. Subject: Department Leadership Update. Brenda saw it first. I heard her gasp from her cubicle. Then a silence fell over the room that was heavy enough to crush a diamond. "Please join me in congratulating our new senior operations manager." It was my name. I didn't react. I kept typing. Josh stood up. "What? Is this a joke?" Brenda marched over to my desk. Her face was a mottled mix of red and purple. "You backstabber," she hissed. "You snitch. You stole this from me." "I applied for a job and I got it, Brenda," I said calmly. "I have seniority. I have 7 years of experience." "You have 1 year of experience repeated 7 times, I said. It was the first time I had ever snapped back. The line hit her like a physical slap. She recoiled. "You won't last a month," she spat. "No one is going to listen to you. We run this place." "We'll see," I said. The transition was brutal. The first week, they tried a mutiny. They stopped communicating. They ignored my emails. They purposely slowed down work. They thought that if they made me fail immediately, Sterling would realize his mistake and reinstate the old order. They forgot that I had been doing their jobs for them for a year. I knew exactly how long tasks took. I knew exactly where the bodies were buried in the database. On Monday of my second week as manager, I called a meeting. I walked into the conference room. They were sitting there, arms crossed, smirking. They looked like rebellious teenagers in detention. "Let's get started," I said, closing the door. "There are going to be some changes in how we operate." "We're happy with how we operate," Brenda interrupted. "We have a system." "Your system involves me fixing your errors at 8 p.m., I said. "That ends today. I am implementing a new tracking software. Every task will be logged. Every error will be flagged and assigned back to the originator for correction. You will fix your own mistakes." "That's micromanagement," Josh shouted. "No, that's accountability," I replied. "Also, overtime is now strictly monitored. If you are staying late, it must be pre-approved. And since I know exactly how long these manifests take to generate, I expect you all to be out the door by 5 p.m. with your work completed. If you can't finish in 8 hours, we will have to discuss your competency." I used Brenda's own line against her. Her jaw dropped. "You can't do this," she said. "I can." And I did. "Here are your new performance metrics." I slid 3 folders across the table. "You have 30 days to meet these standards. If you don't, we will begin formal performance improvement plans." The PIP. The death knell of the corporate slacker. The color drained from Josh's face. He knew he couldn't hide anymore. The next month was a study in desperation. For the first time in years, they actually had to work. The atmosphere in the office shifted from a playground to a sweatshop, but only for them. For me, it was paradise. I finally went home at 5 p.m. I had delegated the work back to the people being paid to do it. Josh was the first to crack. He couldn't keep up. Without me fixing his spreadsheets, his error rate skyrocketed. He was put on a PIP within 6 weeks. He quit 2 weeks later, claiming the environment had become toxic. He moved to a sales job at a car dealership. Emily surprised me. Once Brenda's influence was broken, she actually tried. She came to my office, apologized for the past behavior, and asked for training. It turned out she wasn't incompetent. She was just poorly led and easily influenced. I spent time training her. She became a decent coordinator. We aren't friends, but we are colleagues. Then there was Brenda. Brenda refused to adapt. She viewed my management as a personal insult. She tried to go over my head. She scheduled a meeting with Mr. Sterling to file a formal complaint about my bullying. Sterling accepted the meeting. He invited me to sit in. Brenda sat there and listed her grievances. He tracks my bathroom breaks. He sends back my work for tiny typos. He creates a hostile environment. Sterling listened patiently. Then he looked at me. "Do you have a response?" I opened my laptop. Brenda's error rate is 18%. The company standard is 2%. She has missed 3 critical deadlines in the last month. The tiny typos she mentions resulted in 2 misshipped containers that cost us $4,000 in restitution. As for tracking breaks, I track workflow. There are gaps of 2 hours in her day where no activity is logged. I was in meetings. Brenda lied. I checked the calendar, I said. No meetings. Sterling turned to Brenda. "It sounds like you are unhappy here, Brenda." "I am," she said, thinking she had won. "I can't work under these conditions." "Then you won't have to," Sterling said. "We are accepting your resignation, effective immediately." "I didn't resign," she squeaked. "You just said you can't work here. We agree. We will provide 2 weeks of severance in exchange for an immediate departure. Security will escort you to your desk." It wasn't a question. It was an eviction. Watching Brenda pack her box was a surreal experience. She didn't look at me. She threw her framed photos and her mugs into the cardboard box with violent force. The office was quiet. No one laughed. No one made a joke. When she walked to the elevator, she stopped and turned back. She looked at me, standing in the doorway of the office that used to be Marcus's. She wanted to say something. She wanted to scream. But she had nothing left. The elevator doors opened, she stepped in, and she was gone. That was a year ago. Things are different now. I hired 2 new coordinators to replace Brenda and Josh. They are young, hungry, and respectful. I treat them well. I make sure they are trained. I make sure they don't have to stay late because I managed the workflow properly. I still work overtime occasionally. Sometimes, late at night, when the office is quiet and the lights dim, I sit at my desk and look at the empty cubicles where the cool kids used to sit. I remember the sticky notes. I remember the snickering. I admit, there was a time I wanted their approval. I wanted them to like me. But I realized that the approval of incompetent people is a dangerous thing to have. If they like you, it means you are just like them. Last week, I received a LinkedIn notification. It was from Josh. He wanted to connect. I clicked on his profile. He was looking for work again. I moved the cursor over the ignore button. I didn't click it. I didn't block him. I just left the request there, sitting in pending. I wanted him to see my profile every time he checked his list. I wanted him to see the title under my name, Director of Logistics Operations. I worked hard for that title. I paid for it with weekends, with stress, and with the humiliation of being the office outcast. But the return on investment has been spectacular. They mocked me for working overtime. They laughed at my dedication. They thought they were winning the game because they were cheating the system. But the thing about cheating is that it only works until you get audited. I was the audit. The office is quiet now. It is 5:30 p.m. My team has gone home to their families. The work is done. The clients are happy. I pack up my bag. I turn off the lights in my office. I walk past the row of silent, neat desks. I press the button for the elevator. I don't hate them anymore. Honestly, I should thank them. If they hadn't been so terrible, I might have settled for being mediocre. Their cruelty fueled my ambition. They pushed me to be better just to spite them. Brenda, Josh, Emily. Wherever you are, I hope you found jobs where you can fly under the radar. I hope you found bosses who don't pay attention. But if you ever end up in a logistics firm, and you see a manager checking the logs at 8 p.m., be careful. He might be the guy you made fun of 5 years ago. And he never forgets. I step into the elevator. The doors close. I press the button for the lobby. It's time to go home. I have a life to get back to, and for the first time in a long time, I'm not bringing any work with me. The air outside is crisp. I walk to my car, unlocking it with a chirp that sounds strangely cheerful. I sit in the driver's seat for a moment, hands on the wheel, just breathing. My phone buzzes. It's an email from Sterling. Subject: Q1 bonus structure. Body: great numbers this quarter. You've turned that department around completely. Let's discuss your equity options next week. I smile. I put the phone away. I start the engine. The road ahead is clear. There is no traffic. No obstacles. Just a straight line to where I want to go. They said I was wasting my life. They said I was a fool. But looking at the empty passenger seat where my briefcase sits, knowing that inside is a contract with a salary they couldn't even dream of, I know the truth. I wasn't wasting my time. I was investing it. And the dividend just paid out.